Hello, everyone. This is Tony Geraci, and thank you very much for watching Real Estate Leaders with Tony Geraci. And I got my great friend David Finale here with me today. And we have some great topics to talk about, and we'll kind of try to keep it under a half hour, right? This is a lot of great things to can. And today, again, if you didn't see it from when you logged on there, it's exposure, the old ways, social media, which ones, how often, and doing it. So, David, where do you want to start today? You want to start on exposure and what you feel and what we feel?
Yeah, exposure. What's that?
To expose yourself in a real estate.
I'm going to expose myself right now, but in a good way. So here's the point about exposure, right? So we've talked about structure before, and now we get into the real exposure, right? So what we want to do when I talk about exposure is we want to think about where people are going to see us. And then we're going to get, the next thing is the old ways. So I want to talk a little bit about how your exposure works with the people you know and the people you don't know. So with the people you know, we call that the sphere of influence, circle of influence. You know, there's a couple other names for it. But when we talk about that, the old ways are basically, how are you getting them to know that you're in the business, to know that you're doing it well? A lot of times it might be phone calls. It might be a piece of direct mail with market statistics or other information about what's going on. Just listed, just sold, great pieces, even though they may not be your listings, they're great pieces to send to your sphere of influence. Even if they're not in the area of that just JLJS, you know, they're seeing that you're doing business and that you're involved in it. Right. So when you use those pieces, and I call that the old ways, you want to follow up with a phone call. You know, Tony, so many people want to get a partner to spend money by sending out postcards. Or they've budgeted, well, I'm going to send out 3,000 postcards every month. Please don't do that if you're going to do that on your own. If someone else is paying for it, which I do not ever promote, okay, but you need to use your list, and you need to follow up with a phone call. So those are the old ways.
Do you suggest any other way too? If you feel that people are texting or instant message or whatever way that they might have a person on their list that they know they never pick up the phone. I don't know.
Exactly. But these are the old ways, right? Now we're talking real exposure. So where the new ways come into being is direct message, is text message, emails. You know, people can say it's new way. I say it's an old way. Yeah. Right? So it supports the old way, right? But what the exposure part is, you're putting that out, but everything that you're doing there, like for instance, that postcard, let's use that as the example. That postcard, that image is now a post on Instagram, Facebook, right? It could be the topic of a video on one of your YouTube channels. And your YouTube channel should be that market, that niche you're going after. Right. So the exposure part with the old ways, and it's all brings social media into it. So I'm going to tell you right now that the most important thing is to get really good at one and then expand what you do. Right. And the one to get really good at, honestly, is if you're not using social media on a regular basis, is going to be Facebook. Simply because it's where the majority of the people are hanging out, right? And as far as you're going to get more second-time buyers, upscale buyers, move-up buyers, move-down buyers, downsizing. You're going to get all of that on Facebook. Instagram, for instance, you get more first-time home buyers, but you also get that on Facebook as far as support.
I think those are basically the top two by far. I mean, there's, obviously there's other social medias, but you don't want to spread yourself too thin. Do you agree?
Exactly. And that's the point. And I'm going to interject a tool that I use, and I may have even talked about it in one of our previous broadcasts, a tool I use, and I get this question all the time, and I got it on a coffee chat I did live last week with some friends, and they asked me, well, Dave, do you have any tips on how not to get caught into that social media vortex where, say you're doing your prospecting 8 to 11 and you got, you got 20 minutes before you have to leave for an appointment, and you get into social media, and before you know it, you're late going to that appointment. Because you got caught in that vortex. It's really simple. And I know I've used it before. All you do is you go to your phone, you set a timer. For me, an iPhone user, it's Hey Siri, set an 8-minute countdown.
Your timer is set for 8 minutes.
Okay. So the reason I use 8 minutes is 8's my favorite number. So I always make it 8 minutes. And
their snooze is 8 minutes. Is that right? Or 9 minutes?
So the great thing about it is that this is going to go off in 8 minutes and it's going to, oh shit, I got to not do this anymore, get into the next thing. But getting back to what we're talking about is the exposure is not just mimicking what you've sent as a direct piece. It's everything else. It's your business, right? So let's use Instagram and Facebook. So every morning, what I do is I'm working out for the most part. And after my workout, I try to, for the most part, I do a video and I cut it in two. I cut it in pieces right when I'm doing my workout. Like today, it started raining when I finished my run. So I did the video. I cut it up in a piece because I wanted to put some of it on Instagram and the whole piece on Facebook and use the shorter one for Facebook stories.
When you say cut it up, are you just cutting it up, like you stopping it and then restarting it, or are you?
Great question. What I'm doing is I'm very aware of my time when I'm recording the video. Okay. And why do I say that is because 59 seconds or less will be good for Instagram. Right. So when I get 40 to 45 seconds, because you can see it when you're recording it on this device, how what the timer is. So I either wind it down or I stop.
Is your Instagram one you put is the first part or the second part?
It's the first part. So what I do is, so if I'm doing it just on regular video, I'm going to know what the last word is I use, and I do a hesitation, and then I go on. And I just go into iMovie on my phone and I cut it, right? That's all I do. Now, there is an app that I use called Clips, which actually gives me captions as I talk, which is the only one that I know of that does that. And the great part about it is when I'm done with my first part, I stop it. And then when I start the other one again, it attaches it to it. So it's easy to cut up. You don't need any software to cut it up.
I've seen some of your videos do that. Does the Clips does it automatically, or do you have to? Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's automatically. If you look at them with the captions, you'll notice that it's not always perfect.
Right.
If I'm not remembering to speak extremely clearly, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to see words that just don't make any sense. But this is just a little tip, right? So I want to move on forward with social media and people. People get intimidated by social media. And what I mean by that is they see a lot of people posting on Instagram and on stories, and some of it has, they've got little emojis on it and stuff. Right. It's just very, very simple. Okay. First of all, on Facebook and Instagram with stories and stuff, just play with it. Right. Just play with it when you open it up. And if you post something by accident, who cares? Right. Well, you're not doing anything against the law. You're not doing anything wrong. Just post it. And there are so many people out there that are just posting what's going on in their life. Right. And that's exposure. And I talk about exposure because it is really important that you expose yourself to the public, right? So let's talk about why I use the word exposure. So there's two things you have to think about. One is that there's a lot of people out there that know you or they see your stuff. And when you start talking about real estate, they might start thinking, you know what? Maybe I need to get a new apartment just for rentals, right? Maybe I want to get out of this apartment and go buy a house, or maybe I want to sell and move up, or maybe it's time, because you want them aware that they have a desire to actually do that. Because let's face it, I mean, a lot of people, unless they're entrenched, unless they're they bought their lifetime home, that they just started having children and all that other stuff, they might have an idea to move. They might want to move. You never know. but you want to make them aware of it. And by you talking about real estate and having a great plan of going forward with content is really important. Now, once they're aware of that, now they're home aware. And once they're home aware, you want to make sure that they continue to understand that you're aware and then they talk to you about it. So that's why the exposure is so important. And that's why going on different channels, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, LinkedIn, et cetera, Snapchat, you keep doing it. Like if you're going to do an open house, you should be posting video all week before it. You should be doing snaps on it. You should be doing stories on it. Look, if you've got a new listing,
and inviting people
you've got 20 or so.
How about inviting people?
If you've got 20 or so pictures, say that again.
I was saying about how about inviting people to your open house?
Exactly, and you're going to do that. You can do that on the Monday before, and then do a couple lives in front of the open house where you're inviting people to come to the open house. That's all exposure. Whatever reason you see to talk about real estate, because let's face it, it's your business. It's what you want to promote. And the whole reason that you all are doing this is to show people there's other ways to build your business. I mean, our goal with Real Estate Leaders with Tony Geraci is to help people build a business, right? Exactly. It's not because we want to stand out, we got nothing better to do than stand out here. We want to help people, and that's what we're doing, right?
Right, so, exactly. Well, what do you feel, how often? I don't want to cut you into that, but if you're getting into that, don't worry about it. Keep going.
No, that was next. I mean, how often is a really good question, because people say, well, I don't want to put too much on. And, the whole point is that if you're promoting yourself, if it's relevant, put it up. I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk will tell you, what happened to you 5 minutes ago. Let people know, right? I can give you names of people that are doing Instagram stories all day long, and they've got 20 new stories every day. What are they doing? They're documenting their day. That's all they're doing, right? Some people's businesses depend on it, and some people's businesses don't, depending if they're in real estate or not.
Right.
There's some tricks you can use with that, and you can also, for instance, there's a couple of programs out there that will automatically post for you. Right. I'm not too much of a fan on auto posting.
There's your 8-minute alarm.
That was actually spam.
Okay.
Was not my 8-minute alarm yet. So there's a couple of programs that do post automatically for you. Mm-hmm. I'm not really too much of a fan for them on Facebook, but on Instagram, there's a program called Later. So you just go to later.com, download the app, and it will actually put stuff out there for you. But there's also one really good app that's been around again for a long time, and it's called WordSwag. So there's the timer. So the WordSwag is you can put your logo on it, you can put your phone number on it, you can put an overlay of text on it. You can do layers on top of layers on it, and then it doesn't take long. It's all on your mobile device. It's an app, and you can do. I mean, if you spend 1 or 2, times a week, like you take 20 minutes, you block 20 minutes twice a week to build some content. Remember, very, very important thing. As a real estate professional, Tony, you are 3 things, right? You are a real estate agent. Mm-hmm. You are a technologist, and you are a constant creator of relevant content.
Right.
Now, you said how often. So I'm not saying that, that you want to post stuff because you're just going to post stuff. It was funny. It was funny. Just as an aside, I saw a little video yesterday where this guy was doing this comedy routine about photos of that people use. Have you seen this one?
No, I have not.
He's a young comedian, millennial guy, talking about, years ago he would sit and talk with he loves talking to old people. He said, here's a picture of your grandfather and Woodrow Wilson. Here's a picture of your great grandfather and Teddy Roosevelt, right? Just think, in another 50 years, think about what we're going to be saying to our great grandchildren. hey son, here's your great grandfather. That's dinner that he had at McDonald's one day. And here's a picture of shoes I almost bought. So it's like our times have changed in what we're taking pictures of and what we're posting on and stuff, and our priorities have changed. The reason I still had fun to tell that story, which is kind of funny, is that be purposeful
with what you're posting. Right.
Exactly. Be purposeful. I mean, a very good friend of mine, Trish Lito, has a program about going live, and she talks about going live with a purpose, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're going to do stuff just to do stuff, don't do it. But if something's interesting 6, 7, 8 times a day, post it, but in different places. Sure. A lot of people take the easy way out and they post on Instagram and share it to Facebook. That's okay. If you're really busy, go ahead. Feel free, do it. But if you were to look at, like, for instance, let's use an example, GQ. You look at their page on Facebook and you look at their account on Instagram. Mm-hmm. The content's different. The copy is different. It's because they're going after two different.
I understand that.
Right. Two different sets of people, two different niches. Right. And that's the important thing you have to understand is who your market, who your target is. Who is your customer?
Or potential customer. Right.
Excuse me?
Potential customer too. Someday, there's a lot of people that are watching for a long time. They'll hopefully be a consumer or a client of yours in the future. So you got to look out for who's watching.
Exactly. I mean, you have to know who your customer is and who you're approaching and, where you're going. I mean, so we can also look at, I want to also talk about, when we talk about which ones, of course, Instagram and Facebook are the two most prominent. Mm-hmm. And I want to also talk about YouTube, where every video you do, no matter where it goes or how you do it, should be downloaded and uploaded to YouTube with a caption tag, et cetera, and you can use it later on to promote. But I want to go into this. I want to go into this other thing with social media and exposure of people utilizing hashtags. The use of hashtags on Instagram has always been around, and you could use up to 30 hashtags. Mm-hmm. Right? They say use 15 to 25 at most, but you can use up to 30. The problem I have with a lot of real estate agents who are doing some stuff on themselves and learning kind of incorrectly is that they're using these hashtags on Facebook. Let's understand something. If you're utilizing a few hashtags at a time in a strategy, and you're going to use the same ones on Facebook that you're using on Instagram, great, have at it. But if you're using more than 2, 3, or 4 hashtags on Facebook, don't do it, because it's going to, basically what happens is every hashtag cuts down what Facebook will show, the amount of people that Facebook will show your
really? I had no clue about that.
It will. And it has no relevance because it doesn't have the same feature and the same usefulness as it does on Instagram. And honestly, not a lot of people are searching hashtags on Facebook. Now, as I say this, I will tell you, if you looked at my morning videos, you'll notice, and my afternoon videos, you'll notice that I'm using 4 hashtags. The reason I'm using 4 hashtags is 3 of them I'm promoting for my own business, and 1 is to promote for everyone. And the important part of that is that I have researched that 1 hashtag, and I know the amount of searches it gets. So people always are using this hashtag in our business. They're using real estate. Okay. Right. The hashtag is used way too much and searched way too much because it's not drilled down more. Right. Just like anything else, Tony, you have to really be able to drill down to a specific. Right.
Anything you specifically that you suggest, people look for?
Well, I tell you what, you need to be niche specific. So for a real estate agent, home buying in Cleveland, houses for sale in Cleveland, selling your home by yourself in Ohio, some things like that are market and niche specific will always be good. You can always use home buying, you can always use home selling, but understand they're being used quite a lot and not specifically for your area. So somebody in Los Angeles isn't going to call you to buy a house in Los Angeles.
Well, what's the advantage of using both or disadvantage? Like a home selling, home buying, one hashtag, and then the next hashtag is home buying in Cleveland, home selling in Cleveland.
I think
does that help or hurt you in any way?
It's really not going to hurt you. It's just not going to help you.
Okay.
It's just not going to help you. This is look. A lot of this is based on opinion. I want to tell everybody that because I know that when you've got when you go into Instagram and you put in the hashtag, you'll see how many times it's been used, right? If it says 5,000 and one's 50,000, honestly, the 5,000 is more value than the 50,000, and the 50,000 has more value than the 500,000.
Huh.
Right? So it's another way to look at it. People think it's the other way around, but it's really not. So that's my thought process on hashtags, because I've seen a lot of agents use like 50 hashtags on Facebook or 20 hashtags on Facebook.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Right.
It's not going to work. It's not going to help you, and it really clutters up your post.
Right.
Okay.
No, I always wonder why someone's putting off like 30 different hashtags in there, and I figured they all trying to get more exposure, but it might be a negative effect.
It is a negative effect. And here's another thing: people, we want to talk about points they're trying to get across in posts. You're going to look at a lot of coaches. You're going to look at a lot of real estate people. You look at a lot of people getting information out there. And the question is always going to be on Facebook and Instagram, long form or short form text copy, right? Mm-hmm. It depends on what your point is. It depends how relevant your topic is. It depends on who's watching you and who's reading you. Are they going to read what you're doing? Hey, you know what? You don't know that. But there's nothing wrong with long form copy. Matter of fact, it's preferred over short form if you have a really good point about a topic you're talking about. Now, what I'm going to say for real estate agents is you need a place to send people. Okay. What I mean by that is that you need a place to send people so that you can capture their information or capture them with your pixel, right? Sure. So if you've got a post and you want to send them to a blog or to a page on your website or to a landing page, or to Keeping Current Matters where you may have a blog with them, right? So you want to be able to send them somewhere where they can, if you want to force register, you can. Not a big fan of force register to a website from a landing page, but you know what? It's one way to do it.
Right.
One other major point I want to bring up about social media and the marketing thereof is that social media ads and social media leads are a lot different than Zillow and Realtor.com leads.
Right.
Zillow and Realtor.com leads are leads you got to pound in order to get them to respond. The other leads from social media and Facebook, you want to use a micro commitment system, and that's nurture, plain and simple.
Yeah. What do you suggest in how to set up a Facebook ad?
It all depends on what your point of the ad is. If your point of the ad is, so there's three different reasons you would place an ad. Mm-hmm. One is to have people notice you. I call that a like campaign.
Just to let them know you're in the business and this is what you're doing, and
just for simple exposure.
Right.
Simple exposure. It could be a meme. It could be something really simple as just I hate them, but turn your clocks ahead. Now,
right.
Okay. Something like that. Turn your clocks back. That's coming soon, November. But then the second one is what I call content amplification. And what that is that you've got some really good content. That's always going to be evergreen, which means evergreen content is always going to be good stuff to read. So, and you can use it over and over again. And that's what I mean by evergreen. That's what the topic's all about.
It's going to be about real estate or just about different topic.
It should be about what your specific specialty is in your business, and it's going to be content amplification where you're going to be actually out there and increasing your audience, increasing your exposure, and spending a couple more bucks on that as you move forward. And the last part is conversion marketing. The conversion marketing is actually just what it is. You're going to put a call to action, and you're going to want people to do certain things with it. And you're going to do this. You're going to do this kind of in every social media you're going to do in different ways, right? So basically, this time of year, the breakdown of those three is going to be 10, 30, 60. 10% like, 30% content, 60% conversion. Now, that's going to change as time moves forward through the holidays, and then it'll flip-flop again when we reach January. So it all depends on what your budget is and how you're going to spend time, effort, and money on those. But here's the thing. Don't be surprised if you start getting a lot of leads, and don't be surprised if you're not getting a lot of leads. If you're not getting a lot of leads, it means you sound just like everybody else, and you're not making a difference. That's why relevant content is so important.
Is it a number of people you suggest to go after? Like when it says, I want to go after this many people, or this demographic, or this area, anything, any suggestions?
Yeah, there is, because if you want to go, like for instance, okay, I'll give you an example now. I ran an ad in the spring in my area to one town. In one town, the population was about 12,000, right? Mm-hmm. When I had conversation with the people at Facebook, they said the reason it didn't work is because your audience is too small. Now, if you want to run this same ad and put 4 towns together where you've got 30 to 50,000, then you've got a really good chance of bringing in leads. And the ad that I'm actually running now, that I've been running for almost 2 months, brings in 10 to 20 leads a week, and I think it's 32,000 is my number in my audience. And the great thing about it is I'm running 4 towns.
And what's your call to action on those?
Actually, what I'm telling them is get a list of homes available in Southern Bergen County.
Oh,
it's an area that I live in the county that I live in. So get a list of homes available under a certain amount. So it's called the Homes List. Full disclosure, from Grant Wise, Modern Agent Mastery. I learned that all from him. But it's really, really pretty simple in that you're giving away a list of homes available in the area under a certain price. And it is the best ad out there. The thing is, like I said, I've been running in 8 weeks.
Right.
I'm not spending a lot of money. It is an income producer, and it's really the only advertising for a real estate business that one really needs if they're a single agent and they're really good at follow-up.
Right.
Sometimes people will say, well, that's not going to work in my area. That's a lot of garbage. It's because you sound like everybody else. And for instance, look, I'm in New Jersey. We're very cynical, very skeptical, more so than other places in the country.
Right.
And so, I mean, either you're going to hit somebody across the head with a baseball bat, or you're going to say you're going to be very calm, cool, and collected, and come out with the information in a certain way.
Right.
That basically is going to work everywhere, but you got to worry that you got a lot of skepticism in our business and in the markets, and it's also in your market as well.
Right. But you're going to see right away if it's going to be working or not, right?
You've got to give it at least 3 to 4 days before you see if it is working. I mean, if you turn the switch on it and you don't get anything for a couple of days, don't worry about it too much. Let it sink in. Let the algorithm take effect. It takes about 72 hours for Facebook to really get in, to see where it's going, to see who's interested, to see who's clicking on it. I mean, look, our business is all about working and continuously working, and it's a numbers game, they say.
Right.
So it's the same with your ad. Let it do the work. Let the machine do the work. And if you don't get anything in 3, 4, 5 days, okay, there's something wrong with it.
Right. No, that's good advice. Well, we're hitting that half-hour mark. Anything you want to wrap up, specifics of one main thing, that a good clean takeaway that they could do today?
Schedule this work. Do the work and time block it. It might be a half hour every day. It might be 2 half hours in the day during the day. But you need to do the work. And the most important word for all of this, consistency.
Oh, definitely. And I always remind agents when you're talking about social media, you could do it at any time. So if you're a night owl, it's midnight, and that's when your family's asleep and you have the time, you could do something then. You
Right.
can
So
do it then. It's not, you can't pick up the phone and start calling some prospect and calling your sphere of influence at midnight. But
exactly.
if you can, if so, schedule. So when you're thinking about and visualizing your schedule and where to put this in your day, you can fit it in wherever you want. You can first thing in the morning. Like me, every morning I try to post some type of motivational, and I'm around 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm looking for something that hits me for the day. I'm not making calls. I'm not calling someone at 6 o'clock in the morning, but you're scheduling. So that's the best thing about social media. It's really any time that you can do this.
When I do my videos after I run, I'm doing the video after my run is done, and I'm actually doing the cutting and posting on my walk back to my house.
See, multitasking. You can fit it in anywhere.
Right, you can fit it in anywhere, and the only time it's bad is if it's raining or really cold.
So what's our topics for next week? Do you have those in front of you?
Yeah, we got a really, really good one called differentiation. We're going to have some really good examples of differentiation, and it's going to have a lot to do with the thoughts and power of video.
All right, and then its power. What's that going to be about?
That's going to be about the power of differentiation and how differentiation is going to get you the business more than anyone else in your market.
Okay, and then we got some examples and some thoughts on videos. So do you want to do a live example next week?
I'm going to do a live example next week, probably 1, 2, or 3.
Oh, great. That would be good. We'd like to see it live. So we're not even just talking about what to do. You could even take tips and see what we're going to be doing live. And maybe I'll even jump in there and do a live one too myself. I could do that. You can fit me in there. So
exactly. And I'm going to show everybody how to do something really simple that's going to get them noticed. And I'm going to give a great tip for a listing presentation next week as well.
All right. Well, great. Well, thank you, David. Thank you for your time, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, 11 o'clock next Tuesday. Hope to see you on here. And remember, reach out to us on the Facebook page, or email or text us or instant message us if you have any thoughts or topics, or if you ever want to talk to either of us on how to expand some of the things that we're talking about in this half hour. We're happy to do so. That's what we love to do. That's the whole point of this, that we love to help. Right, David? So we'll help with that. All right. Well, that's it for today. Have a good one, everyone, and we'll see everybody soon. See you next week, Dave.
Take care, man. Thank you.